What's happening, guys? It's your boy TC back with another video, and today's video is in regards to an interview Arsene Wenger has actually conducted using his favorite media outlet in the form of beIN Sport out in France. But just before we kick the episode off, I am running a competition to win the third kit for the 2017-18 season. So if you'd like to enter yourself into this competition, please do click the link in the description below. As mentioned, this video is in regards to Arsene Wenger, and the interview is recently conducted with beIN Sport over in France. It seems as if beIN Sport are his favorite media outlet. Over here in the UK, I haven't seen him or heard him speak to any of the media outlets over here in depth the same way he actually conducts himself with beIN Sport. So there may be some sort of bias in terms of how he treats the media in the UK and how he treats the media in France. Of course, we know recently he was part of the media team that was commenting on the France-Netherlands game recently. So, of course, there is still a lot of respect in France for Mr. Wenger, as well as in the UK. I will admit that based on what he's achieved in the past, but his legend is slowly dwindling down from what it was a few years ago. So the interview conducted recently with beIN Sport was in regards to the replacement of Alexis Sanchez. So Wenger understands and agrees that it was a massive gamble keeping Sanchez on within his final year of the contract. He's obviously come out and made some interesting statements in regards to this interview. So in this interview, he mentions that we lost revenue roughly about 60 to 70 million pounds by missing out on the sale of Alexis Sanchez during the summer. Of course, that was due to the fact that we weren't able to land a sufficient replacement. But Wenger has stated that it will cost us around 60 to 70 million pounds to get in a sufficient replacement for Alexis Sanchez. So it seems as if he's actually admitted defeat in his case of Sanchez in regards to him signing a new contract. We know a few weeks back he was offered up to £280,000 a week, but he obviously refused that offer, and it looks like he's going to run down his contract. So some of the statements that Wenger made within this interview were: you take Sanchez into the final year of his contract, you sacrifice 60 to 70 million pounds income, and then at the end of the season, you will have to buy somebody for that amount of money. So it has a huge price in terms of not selling Alexis Sanchez. So at some stage, you have to make a decision. You have to sacrifice one or two players. Of course, one of the other players that was sacrificed was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. We saw him move to Liverpool towards the final day of the window. It was on the final day of the window for £40 million. And Wenger went on to say, we have today 107 players in England who go into the final year of their contract. It's a complete rotation and change in the way people see their careers for two reasons. One, old players expect higher wages because they anticipate inflation, and two, because the transfer market has gone up so much, but clubs do not want to pay so high prices on the transfers for players who are good players but will not change their life. So it makes sense. I understand what it means that players do anticipate inflation. Things do go up. Of course, the transfer market has been completely crazy in the last 2 seasons or so. I remember when Man City signed Sergio Aguero for 30-odd million pounds back then when he actually signed for City, and that amount of money seemed like a lot of money back then. But now 30 million pounds will barely get you Alexis Sanchez's right foot. So another statement that Wenger went on to say was the amount of money is completely disconnected to reality and the truth. I'll give you one example. No matter how well you work as a football coach, Dembele last year was 15 million euros. This year is worth 150 million euros. No matter how well you work on the football pitch, you cannot make a player go for 15 to 150 million euros. So that point I do understand and I agree with. It's massive in terms of the price increase. Dembele was, as Wenger mentioned, valued at 15 million euros, but this summer he was valued at 150 million euros. Of course, we're disconnected massively from reality. These players, in my opinion, for example, Dembele, is not worth that figure that was mentioned and the figure that he actually ended up being purchased for. So there's a massive disconnect in regards to the reality and the truth in regards to what these players are actually valued at. Of course, this summer is the first initial summer. We've started to see these big money transfers go through. So it is yet to be seen if Dembele is going to be worth that 150 million euros. Neymar has sort of proved himself so far up until the international break. He has been performing fantastically well for PSG, so it's yet to be seen. And one of the last statements that Wenger did make was, but the calculation between investment and what you can get back has gone. It is just, can you afford to buy or not? So previously, for example, I'll give a great example. When Real Madrid signed David Beckham back in the day, reports that surfaced back then suggested that Real Madrid were going to recoup a majority of that transfer fee back from merchandise, and that would have been done and concluded within the first season Beckham had been at Real Madrid, and this was the case. And as soon as Beckham arrived at Real Madrid, the shirt numbers skyrocketed with the number 23 on the back of their shirts. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with Wenger to a certain degree on this one, guys. He is making some sense. However, it doesn't take away from the fact that we are not competing within the transfer market. There's a massive disconnect, as he's mentioned. But if we're going to be bidding £92 million for players like Lemar, and they are refusing to join the club, then there's that disconnect he's mentioned. Secondly, there's something wrong with the club or with the manager himself. So what do you guys think of these particular comments Wenger has made? Please do let me know, as usual, what you think in the comments below. And once again, just a reminder, I am still running that competition to win the third kit for the 2017-18 season. So please do click the link in the description below if you'd like to enter yourself into this competition. So once again, guys, it's your boy TC from I'm Gonna Talk TV, and I'm out.